Maybe you can put it all in one file.
Yes.
Alright, I don't have no idea.
You have no idea. Who's ever set it up for you?
I have no idea.
Please. Escapes, yeah. It's 7 p.m. August 5th, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Cool. First start, call to order, introductions and roll call. Start with Guy.
Guy Rogers, Street Police Superintendent. Rod Schenkel, 472 East Clear Lake Drive.
Johanna 208 West Clear Lake Drive.
Dan Rigby, 126 Lakeside Court.
Jim Hall, 154 West Clear Lake Drive.
Herb Elliott, 1058 South Clear Lake Drive.
Mike Hawk, Attorney to the Planning Commission.
John Saddles and Billy Clerk.
Forum, thank you. Get an approval for the meeting agenda. Everybody had a chance to look at the meeting agenda. Okay.
I move that we approve the meeting agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Carried. Go with the agenda. Approval of minutes of the May 6th. Everyone's had a chance to look at that. Couple minor changes, and Jen said they've already taken care of. Anyone else had any changes to the meeting minutes? Motion?
I move we approve the minutes as published.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No budget items at this time. Move on to our first application, petition, or hearing. First one, Tyler started a little while ago, and this is a request from Milligan's who live at 578 East Clear Lake Drive. And it was like for us to, they'd like to request a waiver to combine 11 parcels at 578. Unfortunately, the UDO basically says that we can combine number of lots, parcels allowed to be combined is up to 10. They have 11. We have then if we could bring up the map, show what that looks like. Personally, I didn't think there was any property that had all those thin slices and boxes, but yes, there are. So it shows all of the different, very well self-contained within what most of us know is a regular piece of property, but they do have 11. So as we look through that, is really their application is to get a waiver for that. Those 11 parcels, and we might head into one for a administrative subject. Questions or thoughts on that?
UDO, just for clarification, we had two versions. One is if it's ZA can do that administrative process without VC as long as it's under 10.
As long as it is 10 or less, yes. But this is 11 and it would be an exception to that. That's the only reason we brought it here is because it's outside of what the UDO states.
No, I remember we had it to 10, I just didn't recognize that not only is the ZA can't do it on. Without sort of the oversight of PC, but it also states as shown here is that. Really has to be a deviation of sorts.
Any other discussions? Other thoughts or discussions on that?
Yeah, maybe just as a side, and so looking at that little map, it looks like 5 neighbors maybe in the same boat. I didn't study it real close, but at least the two biggest ones I mentioned, quite here.
See a paper copy.
Yeah. But with that, how many are really out here and. We need to consider then making an adjustment if there's, I mean, is this whole shoreline this?
It's a lot.
And
I guess I haven't really looked in detail at that shoreline, and
Yeah.
there's a number of them.
a lot of us have been through it, and there's a bit of a tax advantage, not to mention the clerical work. I just wonder if the neighbors start talking and it's gonna make a lot of sense for them all, but we need to. At a later date, think about adjusting it, again, if the whole.
Or if we can give the latitude for the zoning administrator to say, you know, up to 10 lots, or if they are all under the same name, then we could expand that at some point or make a modification of that, so.
It seems that we may call open and Pandora's box, but certainly opening up the. Good idea for taking advantage of. But I think most people that do it find there is saving, there's some tax front.
There's some benefits to it.
Yeah,
You're not getting 11 different,
exactly.
you know, yeah, either,
I'm always amazed that the county doesn't need sort of
right?
push the issue. All right, it's a side note.
So with that, it is actually pretty straightforward, but I wanted to bring it here just to get the blessing of the planning commission since it is outside of the scope of the UDO. And would ask for a motion to accept, waiver to combine the 11 parcels, 578 and 111.
You making the motion to that.
I'm asking for a public.
Okay, then we'll make a motion to accept the waiver to combine 11 lots on this parcel. For an administrative sub.
I'd second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, sign. Good. Fortunately, it took us a little longer with Milligans, but thank you for your patience and allowing us to work the process.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, most of you are probably familiar with this. This is the minor subdivision of land for what was the Henry Court, the adjacent property to the yacht club that split apart. And what we were able to do at the last meeting was combine the 60-foot parcel from the yacht club and then combine those together. Now we're looking to take the remaining 180 feet parcel, split it down into 360-foot lots, parcels, I should say, to be able to do that. And in order to do that, we had to go ahead and have Mineru take the full parcel, split it up into 3, and then deed those back to itself on the individual parcels. Makes sense? Okay. Everybody's reviewed that. Difference for this, before we go through it, any other questions on them?
Yeah, I was kind of looking for the drainage plan. There may have been a oversight. I believe that this particular area is elevation is lower, and I noticed that there is an existing open swale, at least on 2 of the parcels. I had asked, for that to be considered. But I didn't see it, you know, if that conversation was ever.
I don't know.
One simple way of dealing with that is to establish some amount of road right of way, so that that swale can be preserved.
Be along the street there.
Yeah, right along the street.
Yeah, I don't think that's changed, according to our engineer, he said that this remains the same. Cause that drains on down toward the yacht.
Yes.
It goes into that, pipe. Pipe that was rerun.
Yeah, this is, I don't believe that there is an existing right of way, but I'm asking, what I was asking to engage you on is establishing right of way. And, like a 10-foot, along the, adjacent to the edge of the pavement. So that well will be preserved.
Well, I guess I better check with the engineer, I don't know what it's been commented from. So, when was that requested?
Well, it was, after the last meeting, some, with Tyler. They may have just dropped off his list or.
I didn't see anything in the notes, and the only thing that we had, just basically stated that I needed the three deeds. Come back.
I don't know, but I called Tyler when he went to Bend. And I called him twice and I emailed him once. I asked him that each one of the conversations, is there anything else that needs to be done? And the response was always, no, everything's taken care of. And then I think Jim there talked about, we had to come up with the description when last Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. So Tyler never mentioned that previously, so I can't answer the question, but.
He did say in his note that he had a email to you in June, sometime in June, that he did need the quitclaim deeds of the individual parcels going from Liberty Court to each.
That's it, we're going to send it to Mike Chandler.
That I don't know, all I know is the note just said, send an email on this date. I mean, I could look at the details to find out.
Doesn't make any difference you have now, yes,
Right.
To answer your question right away, I don't know the answer.
So yeah, I think we need to. Have that as a requirement eventually.
I'm thinking forward in the sense that as we go around the lake, there are a number of areas that are lower elevation. Road construction projects. You know, are trying to deal with that within the constraints that we have. One of the advantages having the right of way, knowing that there's an existing open swale, is that we can then form that to route water to the storm drain that was installed and is now part of the yacht club. So that would benefit both the future homeowners as well as the town if we could establish a right of way. That was the idea. Somewhere signals got across.
Well, I'll have to check with Chandler because I don't know if that was submitted on previous. Anything coming with this subdivision paper that.
Yeah, not within the last week.
No, I mean, last year.
Not that I'm aware of.
But it'd probably be important, I can imagine down the road, whoever. Acquires their land and wants to build a home on, it, they're gonna. Want to know or need to understand, they're gonna have a requirement, have that swale. Their roadside, and the driveway's gonna probably have to have a tile underneath it and all that, so it's better they find out when they purchase rather than. Put it on the road. How much have some difficulties. we make the subdivision contingent on that, or what would be the right way to proceed?
I think we proceed and from my perspective, either delay it and give us time to work it, with the owner. Or we make motion contingent on that, and then that requires it. So that's a little bit more, kind of locking it in. There might be other options.
I agree with you, I think. Just posted the land, just put it on, continued side.
But that's not a requirement for a subdivision in your definition.
That might come to us.
I think there is, I think in a subdivision requirement that you manage your water runoff.
I'm sorry, what you saying?
That you manage the water runoff part, right, designed for the subdivision.
Is this going to be a subdivision now? I heard 2 weeks ago that it necessarily needed to be a subdivision, so that's why I was a little confused.
Yeah, this is a minor stuff. Very, you're just asking for, minor subdivision to, go from 1 lot to 3 lots, as opposed to typically 1.
And the other request was the waiver, because typically our lake residential lots do not have a subdivision. It's not able to add more lots that are LR to the current lakefront. So request was made to say we're taking commercial property and making it lake residential lots. And there is no opportunity right now in the UDO to make any type of a lot that is not currently lake residential to make it lake residential along the shoreline. So.
That's a description of the proposed subdivision here. Submitted. Old plots will meet all applicable zoning and subdivision standards except for the Pacific Development Standard, which this waiver is requested. I've said it on the perimeter of this thing, and I don't know all the details about it. But you're looking for a minor subdivision? Is that what it is?
Yes.
This does not meet the specifications. Minor subdivision?
No, it doesn't include a break line. It's not a control functions. I would like to make this still on this. There's or if there is a significant impact to the landowner, wait for the member is the problem. We can consider a special session. But
When's the next meeting?
November,
So we couldn't do anything on there until November.
That's why I included in the motion that if that's of a hardship for you, we could consider a special session.
The one Tyler told me cost him $2,000 or something like that.
We would wait, I'll add that to my motion, we'll wait, it's advantageous to everybody to work this out.
Well, I apologize if they didn't have the knowledge of it, but I've asked the engineer 5 times, I've asked the zoning administrator, Tyler, and we started working with Amy, what, year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So, I think we're on the 3rd one or something, and so just want to make sure that, try to get everything covered up.
And is to table this subject until either the next meeting in November and or a special session, at which point there would be a no charge and all details would be worked out of the drainage plan. Leaving some sort of road right of way is reserved to go with swale.
Would you have to preserve the open swale or could it be piped?
There are options, yeah. Work out, right?
Well, when we put a rural drive in there for the old house.
Gotta put it in.
Pipe in. Yeah, we put a culvert, so I would think that would be part of the layout of each lot when it comes in, you've got to show a pipe or a swale going down through there.
Well,
Because
what I
you get
was-
stuff, water.
What I was thinking, Mark, is maybe you don't want the driveway with a pipe and then a swale, just, might be easier to put a little catch basin or something there, and put it all on pipe, whatever.
So there's a motion.
No, it's only 120 feet, we take the water right down to the catch basin there, just before you get to the actual approach.
Okay.
You just dump it in there, I mean, that swale is doing that.
I was just thinking of Mullen.
Yeah.
So do we have a second or a discussion on the motion?
I will second, also make a comment, I think, when we look at the justification for the waiver request, it sort of fits within the, the environmental benefits to the town and the homeowners as has been stated. So this is sort of well within the scope of the criteria that we consider for such a waiver. But I'm gonna second the motion, I think it's the right.
Motion and a second. Comments, any further comments? Committee?
Well, I don't know if if there's any other questions. Dan brought up one, maybe there may be some others, we need to, we shouldn't factor everything here tonight, but Art does his homework, he doesn't come back next time. It's another hanging point, I don't know if we need to proceed and go through this whole thing and just make sure everybody's ready to go except for just that. So I don't wanna table it and he walk away and then we have another meeting and
Might
Well, I got
already,
another question.
we'll have a discussion even though we did.
There's a motion on the floor, so you can discuss the motion, that's before you. That would really be the only appropriate discussion at this point while the motion's for.
But if we vote on the motion, then we have open discussion following that motion. Yeah.
I would think that. Are you just talking amongst yourselves or are you seeking input from?
I'm thinking there's gonna be some dialogue with Mark, just to make sure we're all comfortable with everything here and not that something doesn't another issue doesn't emerge. And we cover it now or include it in this motion, so that the next time we meet, it should be pretty clean. I just don't wanna have him come back, he'll dot that I and we tell him we gotta cross this T 6 months later, that's just not fair.
I think that'd be appropriate.
Yeah, so I'll just rescind the motion.
Okay.
At the discussion.
Yeah, so. So I've got a question, we're talking about the subdivision, is it time for open discussion?
Yes.
One of the things in this proposed subdivision name, Island View Edition. I think we have Island View. Lot, if you will. We're on, South Shore. I believe it's. Maybe conservancy property, I'm not certain, but I have it.
is in the 500.
Yeah, there's a little sign there, I think it's Island View of some sort, and this is Island View, so it's pretty minor, but again, should we? Need to have a duplicate name,
Well, it says proposed.
yeah, so do we clean it up here and say, oh, that's nice, but we already have that. Name somewhere else, do we? Ask the owners to dream up another. We've got one now. Question?
Thank God. Did open, I guess we need to.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to open the floor for general discussion.
Second that.
All in favor? Opposed?
My comment is the legal title to that Island View is Clear Lake Township Concerns. Island View is just a name. I think there's a cottage over in the South Shore that has Island View. So, but that, I don't think that interferes with the name that they're wanting to put out there. I don't know of any legal name that has Island View in it.
Yeah, I'm not certain, that's why I asked, and in the end, it's somewhat, we don't reference these subdivisions in too many places of it, other than we all know Homestead Beach, or we all know Fountain Beach or something, but I don't know if this will ever really become a prominent reference. Are we all okay with that?
But isn't that the title of the parcel? And then the ownership, I think the old corporation name is the legal, that'd be the legal name until these are sold. So Island View really doesn't come in on this, the name of the parcel.
That's the name of the plat, it's a.
But it's a thing, parcel. And I can't serve facts.
Okay, we got one out there, but it's probably not saying legally defined, other than it's got a nice sign. Some people reference it.
Yeah, that goes with, Brennan Woods and all the other conservancy properties have names on them.
What's their, I think it's sort of stuff, thank you. Name of the same. Or should that just be an action that say?
So it's a violation, so we do research to make sure somebody doesn't have rights to that. Naming convention. I don't think anybody has any intention to erect a sign, but it's out there and. It'll get recorded at the county as that eventually, so it'll show up on a beacon and everything else. That's where I want it, it's where.
Bill, I was a little confused when I first heard the request from Tyler that you gotta come up with this minor subdivision. Because the whole shore, it's called Oakwood.
Yeah, I know quite a bit, I don't know where it stops and starts, but yeah, I agree.
It goes past the outlaw, there is the Oakwood. So
So it's
this
already,
is gonna be a subdivision within a subdivision?
I think Oakwood is already. You pull up a beacon, and somebody could.
I don't think it went down that far, I think it stopped before that.
I think it stopped at the
Stops at
the neighborhood commercial. When we went into the NC, that was different.
So they stop at Rayleigh's residence now.
You have to check, but I do know
Probably stops at, regularly, yes.
because part of our concern. I should say part of the yacht club concern was when they tried to add on, there was no qualifying name that would fit for that particular parcel that was being added on, split off, other than just a description. Recall.
Well, that was obviously commercial at the time,
Right.
so.
But all of that is commercial.
Yeah.
We should have just built a 10-story office building or going up from there.
Add a little more objection on that.
Yeah,
As long as it fits within the UDO scope, I think we'd be all right. Right.
Yeah.
I guess my request is, why don't you give us a list of things that you want done, changed or whatever.
That's what we're trying to do right now.
We're getting so many different reports or requests that we're trying to meet each one of them, but I don't know what they are. Yes, so.
Well, and that's really what we're trying to do right now. What Bill's suggesting is we give kind of a list of things that need to be done.
Let's get our punch list so we can punch it out next time we come together.
So you want a new name?
Well,
It looks like Oakwood does not include this property,
Pardon me?
and Oakwood does not include this
Yeah,
property.
so you need a new name for this.
or just if you did a legal search on that name, as long as there's no other legal name with that Island View Edition.
Got a name you like?
Legal name.
Got a name you like?
I don't. I kind of like Glenrud, you know.
We can leave that, Glenrod Edition.
Yeah,
This,
you said that, that property does not, it's not in Oakwood.
It's not here, you know.
My GIS says that it is. I think we need to research.
Yeah.
Take a look.
Research it, yeah.
Beacon does not, Beacon I'm looking at doesn't have it, and it does have an Island View Edition.
Yeah.
Over on the South Shore,
That's the one I call
right
it.
across from Moore's Lake Accessory Subdivision.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we need to do a little research, make sure, and then maybe that is requesters, you get creative.
And you need a drainage plan for 3 lots.
Drainage plan which include an easement.
I didn't say an easement.
No, I know that.
A right of way along the road. Preserve that open ditch that's currently there.
Now with the right of way, the property line still stays the same. Correct?
No, property, the setbacks would go from the right. It's important to consider that. The setback would start at the edge of the right of way, so it's important to consider that. As opposed to the edge of the pavement, that's the way it's drawn now.
Did it go to the center of the road or across the road?
Right now, the setback is from the edge of the pavement,
No, the property line.
but the property line stays as it is. It's just the setback for development.
Usually the lesser of, the closer of the good right of way or the property line. Sometimes they don't line up to hurt.
Why couldn't you do an easement? And that would affect the setback.
According to the drawing I see here, that was submitted by Ulof Jordan. Property line goes to the other side of the road.
That's what it looks like last, yeah.
The property line's about,
There's
4 to 6 foot on the left side of the asphalt.
So then we would then set normally the setback then would be to the asphalt. Correct.
Yeah.
So what
That
Dan's
is,
looking at is with easement, that maybe, and wherever the easement is set. Setback would come from the easement,
so
or right away, I should say.
we're trying to work this out.
Yeah.
Got it,
I mean, an easement did the same thing as right away.
I mean, easements are problematic in that, and if the homeowner could run their driveway over an easement without approval. Right away, I think, I believe is the best approach, but that all needs to be a discussion offline. The bottom line is we need a drainage plan for that. Yeah. Subdivision.
Anything else?
That's the only other one that I was looking at.
Yeah, the only thing is we do our findings. Want to make sure that it be consistent in the content of the comprehensive plan. And the UBO and the waiver will not cause an open loss to nearby property owners. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we narrow down according to UBO drainage plan. And get that resolved, so we could have all positive findings. I'll make a motion to close the open discussion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I
Opposed?
Okay, I would like to make my motion to table this topic, to allow time to resolve to prepare a drainage plan. Verify the naming convention in subdivision. I would also offer in this motion the ability for the owner to request a special session. If it's a hardship to wait till a regular scheduled meeting at no cost.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
This is perfect, I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Two. Keep moving forward on this. Thought we had everything, but with the changeover that we've had, we apologize for that, but sometimes that can't be helped. Take your patience on this. Okay. So, under old business, ad hoc committee, architectural standards update. Did not have a chance to pull the committee together, just the names of individuals that, we have options of bringing on. I know I have at least one, if not two, that have said yes. So once we have that and we have a new zoning administrator that allows us a little bit more time and flexibility to bring the ad hoc committee back together again. Hopefully we'll have something more substantial in November meeting. Okay, under new business, I want to talk about ILU.
I guess that brings up a question. Who do we contact here regarding the submittal or special meeting or whatever?
You can still contact me at this point.
You're in the office.
I have the phone and the email for the zoning administrator. Okay. All right. So when we look at the number of ILPs that we have outstanding, we looked at them and there are a number of projects that said they are in process, and we looked at the expiration date. Many of several of the homes being built are going to take significantly more than 1 year to complete. As I have also learned this week, or the last couple of weeks, give an example, once we have an ILP that's initiated, an ILP is needed to be started before a demolition permit can be applied for. Because they want everything's fine. The demolition permit, depending upon when the ILP is issued,
could be anywhere from 30 to 60 days, depending upon when the town council meets, because the town council is who approves the demolition. So by this time, we could be 60 days in. ILPs are supposed to start, construction of the project is supposed to start within 90 days of the ILP issuance. If that does, then, we're already into that 60 to 75 day time frame of the initial ILP. Now, as we talk about that, we talk about weather and other things. So we're looking at, are dates realistic? And I think a couple of other things that we have. We don't currently have a good checks and balances on. It's supposed to start in 90 days. Are we going out and looking to see if the project is started in 90 days? We need to do something such as that. In my mind, we need to have a few more milestones on dates. So in other words, when the ILP was requested, when it was actually approved, and then potentially a project start date. So the ILP then can be issued potentially, or we could change the language to say we could start, or give it 12 months from the start date rather than when the ILP is issued, being lagging the 90 days. The other opportunity that we have is we can extend the ILP for a period of time. And what we have currently done is there are 6-month extensions or 12-year or year extension. And that was just at the discretion of the zoning administrator. That's fine. I'll give you another 6 months. I'll give you another 6 months. We don't really have anything that we're tracking. So as we look at our situation right now, I think we need to rework that process a little bit so we have a better understanding. And with that, I had a brief discussion with Dan. And the thought was, we give a 90-day extension on all of the ILPs that have either expired or will be expired within a short period of time. And within that 90 days, we should be able to come up with a new process, what that looks like, and we would not penalize anyone for their ILP expiring, not having to be done. So we have very specifically, it will go to the person who requested, which is usually the contractor, and then also carbon copying the homeowner as well, property. So I wanted to bring that up to kind of look at the ILP, the extensions, and that timeline of what we have, and it may be worthwhile for us to transition that. But the point for today is really looking at extensions for ILPs and what that's going to mean, but granting a 30-day or 90-day extension for those projects currently in process. Thoughts on that?
So the letter that you get, that's out. We're saying everybody's gonna get a 90-day no cost extension.
Correct.
Some of them, I believe, will probably clearly need an extension.
Correct.
And then they'll have to reapply, and then they'll have to go through the whole exercise to reapply and the fees and everything else, all that's still associated.
Well, the reapply, at this point, it's just a matter of, yes, okay, I'll give you an extension. But what we were thinking is you wouldn't have to go and reapply for the entire ILP. You would just be granted an extension based on certain circumstances, but there would be a fee associated with that.
Yeah, so there's a good chance almost everybody on the list is gonna be a fee, we're just giving them a 90-day.
Right.
Yeah. Because some of those homes are only halfway.
Right.
And they're already expired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
the 90 days was intended for us to give us time to work out the process.
Okay.
I don't wanna get too far ahead of them.
So, yeah, I'm.
You know, address the ones that are expired. Or nearly expired, and give them the 90 days, give us time to work out a process on how it will handle.
So not so much for the applicant or the residents, it's really for us to try to put something a little more formal in place.
It also puts them on notice that they,
Something's coming.
you can have a dialogue as to. Hey, when do you think you're gonna be complete? It's 90 days fishing, you kind of get an idea of where they're at.
All right, so.
And then they're kind of put on notice that. They're a red flag in our system right now.
And that's really why I started out that second paragraph, all our current process involving the extension of expiring ILPs is in transition. But we're willing to grant the 90-day clause. While we get that worked out. But I did have one person call and said, I think we're gonna be able to be done within the 90 days. They had several delays for whatever reason. And they said, you know what, we're gonna work to make that happen. And unfortunately, what had happened with that particular one said the status was signed off. And so we need to really look at the statuses and say, what does signed off mean? It says signed off, I signed off on the ILP, but does that necessarily mean that the ILP is complete? Does not. It means I've signed it. And that's where, going through this process, I think we need to have some other milestone when we requested it, when we started it. So that, and then different statuses that go along with that. Because there's times where people would call and they want some work done. So, I'm starting a packet. And previously, there was no number assigned to the packet. And in my mind, we should assign a number to it as soon as it comes in. Then, if we go through the process and we say ILP is not required, then we have that number, and then we have a status of ILP not required. But at least we can track all of these different projects coming in, as opposed to going, I'm gonna look over here for this and look over here for that. But at least we know something was looked at, ILP was not required, and here's the explanation. So get through some of that.
One quick question, when I saw this list, I was reminded of 130 Banner Drive, I didn't see it on here, is it? Do you know why?
I do not.
It's one that's sort of tracking it and sort of fall on the radar screen, and I think.
Well, again, if the status doesn't show any progress and it's showing signed off, then I had to actually go back in a couple of these, and maybe what needs to happen is some of these need to be audited and see if they're actually done or not. Because they may say signed off, but they're actually still in progress.
But in general, that's one. When I was working with Robert, I wanted him to give us a little update every meeting, just so we know the guy hasn't fallen asleep or forgotten, and he's got. Progress plan is committed to with what I've seen, or even little to none.
That's why it's there.
Well, and I think as we had someone on board for a year, it was a lot easier for them to try to keep up on it, do that, but. What we don't have is in their absentee, if somebody sits down, we don't know where we are. So we really need to have things documented and done well. Not that we didn't trust anyone, but if you feel that if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, somebody should be able to walk in and look at this. And we're not quite there yet. I would say we're probably 90% of the way there. It's just tying up a few loose ends and putting in some milestones that'll really help give us a little better idea of the volume that's coming through here, the volume of requests, calls, and then we'll have it more in one comprehensive situation.
And in the next 90 days, we're going to talk about the zoning administrator role as likely asset, we'll ask them to take on.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be a matter of compiling some of the things that we found and learned and discovered through this process, and how could we make that whole process.
I'll ask for I think we need a motion on it, but I'll ask for a motion on it just to make sure we get it recorded and have it official. Minutes. I should say, I'd like to I'll make the motion of, providing a 90-day extension on expired or soon to be expired ILPs. As we look at a new transition process, a way of handling the ILPs as well as the fee structure associated.
I'll second that motion.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Last item I have on the agenda is gone through a couple of zoning administrators. They've done a wonderful job, but families are growing and there's other opportunities out there besides the town of Clear Lake. So we were looking at what are our options, what are our alternatives. We had contacted a couple of people, actually, our HR person put out an ad, online ad on Indeed. We had maybe a dozen respondents, and I would say they were four at best in some way to fit the position, the type of person, what we're looking for. So with that, thought about, is there a way then to contract these services? With that, contacted Hometown Initiatives LLC, which is Amy Schweitzer and Amber Bassett's organization. They're out of Auburn. They do this work for other small towns. And one of my concerns was about on-site. Get calls from guys several times a week, sometimes several times a day. It's just, hey, you need to look at this, you need to look at that, and it's really, we needed boots on the ground, we need visual. Is this okay? Is it not okay? So I had a brief conversation with the town of Fremont. They have a zoning administrator and code enforcement person. But I did talk to their Nathan. Clerk treasurer, thank you. Fine last that. I did talk to their clerk treasurer. She was receptive, said she'll run it past their president of their board, and they'll talk about it and then check with their zoning administrator. When I came back, it's only 4 miles down the road. We wouldn't need them all the time. She said, how much time do you think? And I said, I wouldn't expect more than an hour or two a week. So potentially we have hometown initiatives that could do a lot of paperwork. They could do all the things behind the scenes. And we had a proposed contract that I distributed amongst the members here. It's not out yet for public because we still have to review several items. But we could either use hometown initiatives in conjunction with Fremont to be the eyes and ears, and could work that out very, very easily, which I'm sure will be significantly reduced dollars than having someone from DeKalb come up, who's a professional business owner that does this. But at the same time, on the initial proposal, they thought, Amy and Amber thought we only needed someone through the end of the year. We said, no, we're looking for something more longer term. So they said, oh, that's great. They're very excited about it. So they said, we'll get you a different proposal. So they turned around and said, we'd love to do it, made some changes to that initial proposal. They actually dropped their consulting rate for this year, modified it a little bit for next year, and then they would potentially look at their full rate, their normal rate, the following year. They just anticipated a little bit more work up front. But at the same time, Amy also suggested, when I had an opportunity to speak with them directly. And as Amy said, she said, I was in the office 1 day a week. She said, I could still do it. And I think what would be a possibility is to have that happen. Right now, I would say the contractors got pretty spoiled because they just popped in. You know, we had Robert, we had Tyler here, and it was really easy. They were always available. If we take it and we structure it a little bit more, we could have on-site meetings 1 day a week. And if there's anything else they need, they can meet anywhere. In fact, Amy reminded me that she said, well, a lot of times, most contractors come from Fort Wayne. They go right through Auburn. She said, so we can meet at Starbucks. Well, remember 13 years ago, we did. So that's a great meeting place. They don't have to travel. Then they still have face-to-face, really almost 5 days a week, but then they could be on site 1 day. So with that, hopefully everyone had an opportunity to kind of look through the services agreement. It's pretty much a standard consulting agreement. Refer to our attorney to our legal expert here. Say anything different on that, but with the exhibits, they talked about scope of services, what they expect from us, how we can work together, and kind of what some of the expectations are of the relationship. I did mention something to them about having a person from Fremont with being eyes and ears. That is not a done deal. It's something we could do separate. And what I would also say that I would think that that person would be responsive to them rather than to us, because they would have the zoning administrator email, they would have the phone, all the calls would go in there. So that would kind of be the process that we'd look at. It would be a way for us to potentially reduce some of our on-site costs. So, what happened, open for discussion. It is open, but any thoughts or discussion around it?
I had set forth 3 requirements and found that the problem for me, anyway, personally. If you had a chance to fit. Are you fitting within those 3 requirements?
Well, I don't know that we'll fit within the financial requirement.
Yeah, well, that's important.
Well, it is, but at the same time, I seriously doubt that we're gonna get anyone to do work for the budgeted amount that we have that's proposed for next year. And it's getting anyone quality as well.
To that point, I didn't quite, budget number that you had shown, Dan, in your note was around 32 or 38. But you know, the salary for the individual plus all the social security and benefits took it to 72 or thereabouts. So I didn't quite understand your number,
Yeah.
38 or
That was
so.
a half-back position, a move to a half-back position.
That's what you were thinking, is that rather than have full-time, move part-time. And find somebody that would be willing to do it. In fact, is that right?
Again, at the time that I set up those requirements, we kind of found the problem within the solution space. It was, it wasn't determined to be a single person, it was stitching together, so a couple of different resources. Doing some technical work with the hometown on IOPs, reviewing approvals, having potentially another person do our inspections. And we had to be, kind of set up a reliable schedule of office hours. So just trying to bound the problem so as we move forward and work solutions. If we deviate, then we've got to talk through that deviation. If
The deviation will exceed the 32 or
that's the recommended budget for 2026. Then the town will be considering.
That's on,
So,
that's a
if we-
formal number, or that's just what you were targeting?
No, that's the recommendation that is being forwarded to council for approval.
But
If we-
but in 25, the number that they currently are working to is 7-ish.
The 2025
Right,
budget
yes.
is for full time.
Yeah, which has been on the books now for 3 years.
I don't know what,
Town has spent close to 70,000 annually for the CA position.
I don't know, what are we paying?
I'm just trying to understand the balance.
I
Where
think
is
we're
it?
moving it to a halftime.
But I'm not sure I agree, because
Well, this is the solutions that we were working to were to fit within this set of requirements. If we're outside on any one of those, we can't meet it, well, then we have to elevate those discussions.
well, that's what we're here for.
Right. But I haven't seen anything. And I don't know what you're asking for tonight.
Well, it was
Whether
really,
we just reviewed the updated contract.
I just wanted to have a discussion and review the updated contract.
Okay.
Get the thoughts on it. We know that maybe it may exceed the budget for next year, most likely will. But also to have that discussion to say, is that a realistic number? Because when we look at the volume of calls coming in, I've spent easily 10 hours a week since Tyler left, working on things. That some of that's here, some of that's out, some of it's running. A lot of it is people are calling with questions saying, can we do this? Can we do that? I don't know what that intimately, so now I have to go back and research it. Someone that is knowledgeable about it could potentially do that in very short order, knowing where to look. But I took a lot of time to research it. And also, as I'm going through, I'm looking at the process that's been making. So I think, again, there will be peaks, there will be low times, so in the dead of winter, there's gonna be probably very little to be done. And I guess we haven't really looked to say, what is that all going to entail? What are our numbers? What are the ILPs that we've had over the last several years, administrative subdivisions? From my perspective, I really believe that this is something like with the drainage issue, they probably could have caught this ahead of time, or at least had the drainage issue prep for tonight's meeting, which I wasn't aware of, and maybe Tyler did or did not. But having someone more professional and more consistent that knows what we're doing and where we're at, to me, that might even be worth a few extra dollars from a budgetary standpoint. And as we talk, if we look at large projects, is our fee schedule set up appropriately? And how much of our fees offset what the cost is of having a person in here? So if we were to do the hometown and Fremont, it may be X. Well, if we have Y receipts coming in for that, does that offset and does that balance out to our potential proposed budget? Without doing a deeper dive into it, I can't say for sure at this point.
Well, my feelings on the matter are is if we have the information from which to now calculate how we fit within those requirements, then we should, if we fit, I think it's a solution that should be posed to the the plan commission. But until we have that, and if we can't get within the box, then we have to have discussions with the budget committee outside the plan commission before we can present that as a solution, because it's breaking a requirement. And this plan commission doesn't have the ability to adjust, but it can make a recommendation.
Okay, and those requirements were set by the town council.
I'm on the budget committee.
Okay.
I know what's going in front of the council. If we can get, so again. I was setting it up. If we can't meet the budget, then we have to have other discussions.
That's fine, I'm just trying to.
But we haven't proposed any solution as I can see it. That's ready to be discussed. Pros and cons.
Yep.
We have hometown, apparently a hometown contract that's been updated. But we have to look. We, the executive committee needs to get together and put a solution together.
That's fine, I got this in and I wanted to bring into this to talk about it, see what else we need to do. And see what obstacles we have to overcome for this, or if this isn't gonna work, can't do it. Then, look at what are our other alternatives, but I think.
We have metrics, we know how many ILPs we process each year. Presumably through your conversations, how many hours on average this company requires, their hour rate. It's just a matter of putting it together.
Okay.
Well, my thoughts on hometown, is that I think they will be able to serve the town and community well. We know Amy understands the role and the responsibilities and the execution of the job, so that's pretty confident that she could do that for us. They would set, they definitely agreed they would set time, say a 4-hour time block every Monday or whatever day we choose, so they could have some FaceTime with the staff here. And also be available for residents and also have the opportunity to tour the lake every now and then and look at the various projects that are going on and check on progress and work with Guy on that. Because without, with a full-time guy, being the ZA and Guy, you guys made lots of laps. And now
As
they're
a
part-time.
yeah, we'd make a lot of.
Yeah, sometimes independently or together and probably had conversations, so this person wouldn't necessarily, you wouldn't have that, so some of the burden would fall on your eyes, but they wouldn't be completely out of pocket, it'd be just here. So that's the downside, is you lose the advantage of having 4 eyes, multiple conversations every day of the week. That is for sure one of the downsides that I see. But the capability is there, their willingness to be here. To take calls, the calls could all be directly funneled to them, or Jen would have to say, well, I'll take a note and they'll call them back, or if we would arrange that, they were more than willing. So I think, again, the residents could be served well. There's for sure going to be some front end expense for them to get up to speed and to dig into the processes that we currently have, and to probably update them so that they're a little more efficient. So there's some expense there, but to your point, 10 hours a week or something on that order in the first few months probably is not likely, because they've got some homework to do.
But we also have some savings that Tyler has been here.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, the first few weeks are gonna take some time to get up to speed on that. One of the upsides is that, I think a lot of us know Amy, and she was real quick to describe that she would definitely err to the side of higher degree of documentation. And as we go through the files, when Jim and I were looking at the files, documentation is pretty sketchy. We know that was the problem with, say, Robert in the fact he said, trust me, and he would just check boxes, and there wasn't a lot written down. It was all between his ears. I believe Amy would do a much better job documenting how she went through the checklist and what the criteria was met, unmet, and actual measurements and the like, so we could have a much better paper trail and that type of activity for us. So that was encouraging. But on the cost side, I'm pretty confident. So we should do this for 10 hours a week at $100 to $125. We're going to be hard pressed to serve the community and the balance of the staff at $32,000 a year. That's my quick assessment. Now we need to do, we can put a spreadsheet together, and we know we need to do that, but 32,
You haven't rated any other options. We've looked at the whole pack.
I'm
That's
just
all,
saying,
that's
I'm
all
just
they've
saying,
done.
whoever we find, I believe, can find a solution for $32,000 and serve the community. But the number with the amount of activity around Lake is gonna be hard for us. That's my opinion.
We need to put.
My opinion is 32, you won't get there. Well, that's fine. I'm planting that seed.
Middle.
I'm planting that seed, that is my view. Okay,
But you haven't put forth a solution. We have not put forth a solution.
just planting the seed.
We have
Do not
not,
get ready to $32,000.
we have not. Put a solution, that has a composite set of resources to try and address the zoning administration. Right now, it looks like we have one solution, which is hometown, and it breaks the cost. But I don't even know how much you're breaking the cost. So
Well, Jim had a spreadsheet that did.
I don't know, it had a set of hours.
Mhm.
Okay, how many hours? I don't, we haven't even put forth a solution.
We will, and just plant the seed.
You're just saying we're gonna need more money.
Well. Not necessarily more than what we've spent the last 3 years, but certainly more than what your budget committee is hoping for next year.
What's the next step?
Well, I guess the next step is we take this back and, but when you say a composite set of resources. Between Indeed and those we know. I don't know of any other resources that are available.
We have a job opening,
You know. And we're
still
still
accepting applications.
accepting applications.
You've stated a resource in Fremont. It
Yes.
might be available,
Correct.
and we have hometown, right? To consider in part or in full.
Oh, I thought you were thinking about somebody else outside of that.
Depends on where we are with the requirements.
Okay.
And Jim, I did send you some marked up version of the contract. Most of them would be outside this discussion, but I guess the concern I had is for the thought that came to me is when they're describing the relationship with the parties, they're trying to preserve that independent contractor status. So they're saying we're not agents or representatives of the town in any way. That brought to mind that the UDO has our zoning administrator as our enforcement authority. So they're basically disclaiming any agency relationship and saying we're not town's agent. So the question came to me is, are they gonna be the ones who are issuing the stop work order? Or would that be the guy in Fremont, would we nominate him as the enforcement authority? Would it come to the executive committee ultimately, or are they just making a recommendation, doing the paperwork? Basically, you guys are gonna have to sign off on everything. That actual relationship with the whoever you go with or contract with or hire has to be thought through, is to figure out. This person has to have some authority, or someone has to have the authority to act as.
I think there's some details like that that have to be worked out, but that's a great start. Yeah, who has signing authority, who has official? Who can sign what and what authority do they have?
And the enforcement agency probably would be another downside. For this. The hometown option, yeah, very good.
I mean, it'd be great, why she knows the ordinance and.
Yeah.
Do a good job, but that's.
I didn't get the feeling, we didn't ask for, but I didn't get the feeling that she would be wanting to step into full enforcement. It's not work order maybe, but some of the other things that we asked ZA to do, right, might not be what they think. That we all know that point of conflict is undesirable for most people.
Oh, and the other thing,
But it's the next thing.
I'm trying to take a look at the job profile and then compare what's in the job profile to what the agreement and what we might do with Freeman. Okay. Good discussion. That really was the purpose of this, is just to open this up for discussion. Inform people, kind of what we're looking at. And at the same time, there are other suggestions or ideas or, by all means, we'll take a look and do some due diligence from the financial perspective, but if you know of anybody or if you have other suggestions, maybe someone else that we can contract with, that could work that way too. Anything further on that? So, nothing further. Do I have the motion before adjournment?
Before we leave on that one,
Okay.
so, as the executive committee works through it, and then we establish what we believe will be a good solution. Just thinking about the next steps that we have to go through, it's not a traditional zoning administrator, it's not hired. So we would prove it here at this committee, let's say November. And then go to the town for approval, and then adopt. Is that, those are the only sort of traditional steps we have to go through?
Planning commission hires the zoning administrator, subject to your budgetary constraints. You guys have to vote it out.
So then would likely, next point of discussion and approval by this panel would be November. So we, and then the subsequent town council meeting.
Well, unless we have a special meeting for Hagerman, then discuss it at that time as well.
Could be established, just thinking if we want to expect this, because, clock ticking and burdens on our shoulders collectively, but I know you're carrying a lot of it. So we could do a special session for this topic. I mean, hope and think it, that may make sense if we can get to work quick enough, otherwise, we're gonna be in December. And we all know the fall building,
Well, they're restarting it now, because they're gonna break ground before.
and you're gonna allow upset residents that we can't feel them all.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a tough.
I'll just say something. Okay, I'll open the floor, make a motion to open the floor. Comment? Favor?
Thank you. Council would have to adjust the salary ordinance potentially. Isn't that correct? Right. Because the way we have, if the zoning administrator position were to be different than we currently have it in the salary ordinance. Do we have a way to do it after that? I know we don't approve, we don't hire the person,
Right.
and that's all, you guys can check into it, that would be,
Okay, we'll get into that.
thank you.
Okay. Or anybody else, but we have a floor.
I could just add another option. The current ad that we've been running was a part-time, no benefit position. And I think we got resumes from part-time, no benefit people. We have the option to go back to the old way, and that is to a full-time. We could maybe reduce the pay a little, but full-time or put some benefits on it. We could have to get them up to 32 hours a week to a benefits apply. But I could change my ad that we're running for you guys and put benefits in it to see if that doesn't sweeten the pot. But yeah, the resumes that we received today were pretty bleak. Just a thought, I suggest executive committee convene, talk about the current suggestions, cost it out, and any other options that you might have, but I would have you think about maybe putting benefits and taking the job to 32 hours.
Would you do me a favor, George, as the HR person?
Yep.
Would you look into how we could handle a seasonal, quote, seasonal worker? Because we could potentially change the description to a seasonal position. And you're gonna have higher the summer, lower in the winter, different times. And that way it makes it a flex position. We might still be able to get some of the hours, and there may be an opportunity for us to potentially do benefits at a different level for a seasonal or flex position.
I'm optimistic that we can do that. I don't know about the ability to recruit such a person, but I'm not saying no, but if we want to throw that out.
Yeah.
Again, the executive committee work on it and give me direction.
Yeah, I didn't pick up that we had moved it to a part-time, no benefit, it's based on what I now know. I'm not surprised by the quality of our applicants that we got.
I don't think McDonald's qualifies here.
It's demanding job for that kind of compensation.
Well, with that, I'll make a motion to close the discussion. So, favor? Second for adjournment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I don't know.